Hi there, and welcome to Cinderblue's Corner. My name is Turk, and today I would like to talk to you all about autism. The subject on my mind today is I wanted to share a story about how I learned more about myself and how I function, and kind of share my experiences, uh, as well as some insight that I have related to that. When searching to learn more about myself, it was very valuable for me to hear the experiences of others. So I want to kind of share back to others so they can hear kind of other perspectives. I found it very valuable to see all the different sides of things and the commonalities. Um, so as I was as I was researching autism and trying to see if it was something that kind of fit more with me, there was one person in particular whose YouTube channel that I really enjoyed uh, listening to that had a lot of great resources. I believe it was Paul with Inside Autism, Inside Aspergers. I'm pretty sure. I'll put the channel in the description because he's actually a really great resource. So there was one video where he was talking about association with time and hyperfocusing on projects or just things or hobbies or the like. And he was describing how hyperfocusing is like a locomotive that needs to get up to speed, right? It starts slow at first, and then it slowly picks up and gets starts chugging along before it builds momentum and becomes a unstoppable force of focus. And that if you have a negative association with time, you don't really actually get to the point where you are going full steam ahead. You start, and then you stop. Because usually, for me at least, it was I would start a project and I would kind of start to get going, and then I'd glance over the clock to like see what time it was, and I'd constantly be checking like what time it was because I always needed to know what time it was. And I didn't realize how habitual that was until I started looking more closely at it. Until I heard this story. I knew my association with time was bad, but like I just didn't realize how often I was doing it. And if I were to sit down to draw or something, it would just be me stopping every few minutes to just check the time to be like, oh, am I late for something? Am I missing dinner, or is there an arrangement that I'm missing, or I wouldn't even really need an actual reason to be doing so. I just would be constantly checking it. Even if I was with friends, it would be like, say I was sitting down for a art project, right? And I was like, I finally carved out an hour to do this. I have 1 hour to do this. So I've got between 5 and 6. And then by 6, I need to start dinner if I'm going to have any hope to have that done tonight. So I got this 1 hour. And I sit down to the project, right? And I start working on it, and I'm sketching along, and uh, I've got a little bit done, and I check off the clock. I'm like, oh, okay, I've only been here for 5 minutes. It's cool. So I'm still sketching, and then maybe I've restarted because I didn't like it, and then I check the clock again. Oh, it's been 10 minutes. Oh shoot, that's 1/6 of my time, but I'm starting over, so I only have 50 minutes now left, and then okay, that's fine. I'll just keep going. And I'm sketching, and then I'm going along, and then I check the clock again, and it's now been 30 minutes total that has passed. And then I'm just like, oh no, that's half my time. I restarted the sketch. I'm only like this far along. Like I'm not even really there, but um, you know, wow, I really haven't got a lot done, and 30 minutes has passed, and what did I even do that 30 minutes? And now I only have another 30 minutes, and like I can only get so much done. I really need to focus. I really need to do this. And then I would kind of spend the next time kind of more feverishly, more from not a very comfortable place. I'd be trying to focus as much as I could on this project, and then I'd be going along, and then next thing I knew, I'd look up, and it would be 50 minutes had passed. Of course, I'd even be checking much more often than this, and then I'd be just like, oh, that's pretty much all my time. I've got like 10 minutes left. What am I going to do with 10 minutes? And I've got just like this half finished sketch, and that's all I'm going to be able to do. And but I've carved out this hour and I wanted to get as much done as I could. So let's, just try to push through it. And then the next 10 minutes, I'd kind of just try sketching, but it would feel awful and I'd feel awful and it would just be terrible. And then, the time would come and I would just be like, well, I tried. And then would feel bad about the whole experience, and wouldn't leave a positive taste in me, and it wouldn't leave me wanting to do it again, even. And I'd go on to do the next thing and have similar time struggle issues. And this came up even too when like I said, when I was just with friends and just for no reason. There would often be reasons, like I'd be like, I don't want to miss something, but I wouldn't need anything actually coming up, like no, like to do dinner or arrangements with someone. I would just be constantly glancing at the clock. And realizing this and hearing, the fact that I just never really allowed myself to hyperfocus made me realize that I hadn't hyperfocused in a very, very long time. And there's nothing wrong with hyperfocusing too. That's I've learned now that is how I need to focus on things. I need to have that thing kind of just draw all of my attention. To be able to just dive into it and get so involved with it. And I realized I hadn't allowed myself to hyperfocus for a very long time, and I was looking back and thinking back and journaling and meditating on the subject, and a memory resurfaced to me of a traumatic event that happened a long time ago in my life. And it was surprising to me when this resurfaced that I had forgotten it, because this event was a source of a lot of anxiety and nightmares for many years after. And I remember being on the playground, and this was in about first grade, maybe second or third at the latest. I remember being on the playground, and I remember there's this giant plastic tube that I really enjoyed playing in. It was very long and deep, and it was kind of sequestered off to the side and had some shade. I had this cool like ribbing on the insides. And I remember I used to love to spend so many of my recesses in there. I would go deep within, and I would just be in my own little world. I'd be playing with the dirt or the grass or bugs or just daydreaming. And quite often I ended up getting so focused on what I was doing that I'd miss the bell and I wouldn't return to school on time, and I'd be late. And of course, you might imagine that I was reprimanded quite a lot for that. I was, I don't remember the exact words that were used, but I'm sure that I was told that I was not a good boy, that I had done wrong, that I was bad. And, this happened quite a few times until the final time. And when this memory resurfaced, what really surfaced in me was this feeling that I had, this terrible feeling of guilt, and I was just terrified when the last time that I got lost in my own little world, happy as can be, and something brought me out of it, and I remember not hearing anything, and I remember just that feeling of terror as I looked up slowly and just hoped beyond hope that I would see like the little feet of another kid, or just like a laughter or something saying that like others were there. But no, I had yet again missed the bell, and that fear and guilt rose in me. And I remember just thinking, I am a terrible kid. I've done wrong again. I've done it again, and I don't know why, and I'm just awful. And it was that event alone that kind of created a negative association with time for me from then on. There were things that, compounded into that continued to make it worse over time. But it was like from there that it built into and snowballed into what it was. And throughout my life, I was able to hyper-focus to some extent, especially if it was like things that were really easy for me to focus on and didn't have much guilt or stuff around it for other reasons. But that became harder and harder as I became older, especially as I came to have more responsibilities and more things to focus on and that needed to get done. Um, and of course, I don't blame the teachers for feeling, for not knowing how to handle the situation, and also, for having difficulty with it, because of course they are just a couple teachers watching so many children. And I've got two nieces and they can be a handful to just watch just on their own. So I don't know how you watch 30, 40, 50 kids on a playground. But certainly dealing with that in ways where you make a child feel shame or fear is not the answer. Negative reinforcement does not work. It just creates fear-based responses that traumatize people for quite a long time. But the thing here too is, it is just that people are not understanding or accepting the fact that it is perfectly okay or natural for people to have different ways of doing things. I need to hyper focus on things to get them done. I need to kind of just zone everything out and kind of just zone in on something, and work on it to, not to completion, but just to work on it for a very long time and have a lot of fun, kind of just being in the zone. And it was becoming aware of this that I was able to start working with it and with healing it within me. And by healing it, I mean, it was first just admitting to myself that is how I function, and letting go of that shame and guilt and fear that was placed upon me, because it's not mine, it doesn't belong to me, and it's not for me. There's nothing wrong with being the way that I am, and there's nothing wrong with needing to do things the way that I do. We are simply living in a society that does not accept, understand, or accommodate those that have other needs. But there's no reason that I need to feel bad or shameful for myself. That being said, it still took me quite some time to work through this. This wasn't an overnight transformation. I simultaneously needed to deprogram, that shame, guilt, and fear, while also deprogramming that need to just constantly be checking for time. And that constant need to check for time was reinforced with things beyond that, because it wasn't just that event. It was many other things, like, my parents being mad at me for not coming out of like whatever video game I was doing or whatever craft I was doing, and missing a meal. It was any number of things at school. It was constantly piled on and on of just like negative reinforcement of like just my way of focusing on things. And even being aware of it was still a challenge. It still took me some time. And it was like, I'd have to catch myself looking at the clock, looking at the time constantly. But it was being aware of it in the first place that even allowed me to do that. It gave me the space to recognize it and to just be like, no, I don't need to check. And, quite often during the process, I still would check, and sometimes it just would be like couldn't stop myself. But I worked at it, and I was able to do it less and less. Something that was able to help me greatly with this process as well, which might be different for you if you have these struggles, because I think we all have our unique things that kind of unique way of doing things, and also unique scenario that kind of like unique situations that got us there in the first place. But I knew part of it was like not being able to take all those things that I was worrying about and externalize them or like set them aside. They were always just there. They were always just pushing at me like, what if you're late? What if you forget about this thing? What if, you upset someone, or what if you forget to feed yourself, and, all these things. So for me, it also helped to start externalizing those reminders. I started using more and more alarms, that way I could be like, oh, I need to talk with this person at this time. I need to be be here for work at this time. I was working as a traveling technical service person for a while. So too, I was like, for the most part, for that, I was just like, look, I'm going to show up when I can because I'm driving in my van, and you know, I'm not going to drive faster than the speed allows. So I used to really be like worried about when I was going to show up to things. I was like, I show up when I show up, and there's no amount of worrying about time that's going to change that. Um, for food too, if I was sitting down to do that art project, it'd be like, okay, just set the timer, and that was my externalizing. Like, I have handled it. It's now placed aside, and I don't have to worry about it. I even actually found a really nice watch to help with that. I just remember it's in here somewhere. So I was just thinking about this. I kind of forgotten I had this. Found a really neat just digital watch. This one, it's like 30 or 40 bucks, and it's got like a month of battery time. It's very simple. It's probably dead now because I haven't charged it in forever. It's a Amazfit, because it's not an Amazon Fitbit. Not that it's not an Amazon watch or a Fitbit. It's an Amazfit, because it's some foreign company. But this thing actually worked really well for me for like setting a lot of alarms. And that way I just had that external thing where I was like, all right, I know this is going to be there for me if I need it, and it's going to remind me of those things. And it allowed me to put away the worry that I was having of like, oh, am I forgetting something? Am I forgetting to remember to do something? I don't even use that much now. But also I still haven't really figured out scheduling and all that stuff. That's something I'm still working at. This was about a year ago that I realized this, and it took me like 3 or 4 months to even get myself into a great space where I was able to focus and hyper focus more. Now I'm able to do it with ease. It's still scheduling that I haven't figured out yet, but you know, I'm still kind of figuring out a lot of things in my life. Maybe I'll go back to like alarms or using calendars more. I definitely want to get more calendar work done. But for like the biggest things, I have those on lockdown where I'm just able to be like, oh no, I know how to remind myself now. And I went through a lot of different things. I tried sticky notes as well. I did more calendaring. I did journaling, and I still do these things to degrees. But yeah, like I said, hadn't exactly figured out scheduling as much, but you know, I'm at least in a place where I can hyper focus on things now, and that feels so much better because I can do it now without feeling guilt or shame or fear. And that's the thing too, is like, it's just, it's a shame how hard these things are pushed on people, and it's just like, I'm right. I am valid and perfectly fine the way that I am, and I just, there's so many things in this world that kind of get pushed upon you that might tell you otherwise, that might make you think otherwise, but it's just not the case. I extend this to a lot of things that are considered negative traits of autism or any sort of different way of being. ADHD, ADD. I'm going to talk about that more in later videos and expand upon that more, because that's a whole nother subject. I don't think there's any much more that I want to talk about in this video. I kind of just wanted to make just a short video to share some of my experiences, and also I guess a short life update. I'm now back out in my workshop in the garage. I'm in the process of kind of still building a space out here. At the very least, I've got my computer, my drawing stuff, and my sewing stuff out here. And some of the stuff that I've been working on for sewing, and a squishmallow. Squishmallow, yes. Squishables are different. Yeah, so I've been struggling with doing more videos. I've only uploaded 3, and I haven't really actually talked about any actual content. So that's why I wanted to make this video. And also, I've recorded like 7 more on top of that I haven't really done anything with. They weren't a total waste because they were practice, but I want to get myself into a space where I can kind of just be more in the flow, and not have to worry about editing or anything like that. As little as I can, at least. And also now I'm out in the space where I at least have more quiet time. I don't have people to worry about for like organizing, recording, and all that stuff. So that's going to be very helpful for this as well. I was thinking for this month that I would do a video a day and kind of just talk about whatever to facilitate in me getting over perfectionism and editing and all these other things. And yeah, I'm sure the qualities of the videos won't be that great, but that's kind of the whole point. I'm just still working on getting over that whole need to be perfect. Okay is more than fine. It is perfect, and it is enough, and just showing up is enough. And I'm trying to just get myself to recognize that better. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm excited to be back out in the space. I'm excited to kind of do a month of videos and just see where that goes. I'm not really expecting anyone to even tune into these, but if you do, you're great, and I love you, and you're awesome. These are mostly just going to be my jumping board for better collecting my ideas and thoughts, helping myself get more comfortable with speaking to a public. It took me long enough to get more comfortable speaking with myself, but you know, this is the next step of doing that. I don't have it. I don't have anything else. That's it. So this is the video. This is the first video of January, February, May. We're in May. May Day. That's right. Yes. So this is the first video of May. This was my little life story of learning a bit of myself in time. And yeah, I hope that this was helpful or insightful to you. If you have any thoughts on the subjects, or would like to share your own experiences, feel free to in the comments. I'll definitely comment back because I'm sure it's not going to be too lively there at this current point in time. And that's all. So I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day wherever you are, and that you are safe and happy. And I love you. I love you. I mean, I do. I don't know if that's going to be a great outro, though. Yeah. Have a good one.